Everyone assumes the prettiest Florida beaches are the priciest. Here is what nobody tells you. There is a stretch of sand on Florida's Treasure Coast where 300-year-old Spanish gold still washes up after a storm, and it costs you nothing to walk it. All across this state, some of the best beaches are also the cheapest, if you just know where to point the car. All the beauty, none of the price tag. So today we are counting down 10 cheap Florida beach towns where you can still afford the coast. From the drive-on sand of Daytona all the way to the powder white emerald coast at number 1, where you get the prettiest water in the state without the Destin bill. Number 10. Daytona Beach. The most famous cheap beach in Florida is still one of the best deals in the state. This is 23 miles of hard-packed white sand you can drive your car straight onto, park beside the waves, and set up for the day. The beach itself is free, and so is the boardwalk and the quarter-mile Main Street pier, where you can walk out over the Atlantic and even fish off the far end without a license. Come on a summer Saturday and the town puts on free fireworks over the water, and street performers fill the old bandshell for nothing at all. Skip the pricey spring and come in the off-season, and the motels drop to a fraction of their peak rates. Roll onto that wide, hard sand at sunrise, no parking lot, no beach fee, just miles of open coast and the sound of the surf. That is the classic Florida deal. The next one puts a beach right beside the oldest city in America, and the history is free to wander. Number 9. St. Augustine Beach. Here you get a wide Atlantic beach sitting right beside the oldest city in America, and the best part of the trip costs nothing. St. Augustine was founded in 1565, the oldest continuously settled European town in the country. Older than Jamestown, older than Plymouth Rock, and its historic district is largely free to explore. Spend the morning on the sand out on Anastasia Island, then wander into town in the afternoon, down the cobblestones of pedestrian-only St. George Street, past the great stone walls of the Castillo de San Marcos, the old Spanish fort that guards the harbor. You can stroll all of it without paying a cent. Duck into a courtyard, watch a street performer, and feel 400 years of history around you, all on a budget. Beach in the morning, an ancient city in the afternoon, and your wallet barely notices. The next one hands you a front row seat to gentle giants, for free. Before we get to number 8, if you would rather find the gorgeous beach you can actually afford than pay resort prices for the same sand, subscribe. This channel is your map to the cheap side of paradise. Number 8. Fort Pierce on the Treasure Coast. This is a quiet little town that the crowds heading further south drive right past, which is exactly why it stays cheap and easy. Parking is free and simple, and out at the inlet you can cast a line off the jetty and hook snook, redfish, or tarpon without ever paying for a charter. Right downtown, the Manatee Observation Center sits on the water, where you can stand on the boardwalk and watch wild manatees drift by just below you, those gentle giants surfacing to breathe. Come on a Saturday and the downtown farmers market fills the streets, free to wander, and the seafood here is fresh off the boat and priced like it. Lean on that railing as a manatee rolls up out of the green water below. Then walk back to a lunch that costs almost nothing. That is the quiet coast. The next one is a Gulf fishing village where the boardwalk stroll is free. Number 7. Madeira Beach on the Gulf side near St. Pete. Locals call it Mad Beach, and it is built around a historic fishing village where the best stroll of the day is completely free. That is John's Pass Village. That is an 1,100-foot wooden boardwalk lined with more than 100 shops and seafood joints running right along the water. Walk it slowly and you will watch fishing boats slide through the pass and dolphins surface in the channel, no ticket required. If you want to get out on the water, dolphin cruises leave from right here for cheap. And the motels a little back from the sand cost a fraction of what you would pay down in Clearwater. This is the affordable side of the Gulf Coast, all the sugar sand without the resort bill. All the beauty, none of the price tag. The next one is Old Florida, with sand the color of cinnamon. Number 6. Flagler Beach. Wedged quietly between Daytona and St. Augustine is a 6-mile stretch of coastline unlike anywhere else in Florida, where the sand is the color of cinnamon. That rusty coral tint comes from coquina, the same soft shell rock they used to build the old Spanish fort up in St. Augustine. There are no high-rises here, no chain resorts, just low buildings, free parking, and a laid-back old Florida feel that most of the state lost decades ago. Walk out onto the historic wooden pier, first built back in 1927, for about $1, and watch surfers work the waves below. Then stroll the cinnamon sand at low tide with the whole beach nearly to yourself. Nothing here is trying to sell you anything. That is old Florida. The next one is the surf town where even the beach parking is free. Number 5, New Smyrna Beach. This might be Florida's most underrated seaside town, and it happens to be one of its best surf spots. The beach runs 13 miles wide and flat, and here is the money saver. You can drive right onto the sand under the old Flagler Avenue arch, or skip the fee and park for free in the beachfront lot. Rent a board or take a cheap lesson because the waves here are famous. Then wander historic Flagler Avenue with its surf shops and art galleries and open-air bars. And just to the south sits the real prize, Canaveral National Seashore, the longest undeveloped stretch of Atlantic coast in the whole state. Miles of empty dunes with no cars and no condos, just you and the ocean. All the beauty, none of the price tag. Park for free at dawn, board under your arm, and walk onto sand that stretches empty in both directions. The next one still washes real gold up onto the beach. Number 4, Vero Beach. Back on the Treasure Coast, and the coast earned that name honestly. In 1715, a fleet of 11 Spanish ships loaded with gold and silver sank in a hurricane just offshore, and more than 300 years later, storms still wash coins up onto these beaches. Treasure hunters really do walk this sand, hoping to strike it rich. You can learn the whole story at the McLarty Treasure Museum, built right on the spot where the survivors of the wreck came ashore, and admission is just $2. Then walk out onto the white sand beach right outside or catch the surf at nearby Sebastian Inlet, and keep your eyes on the tide line. Comb that stretch of sand after a storm, watching for the glint of something gold, the Atlantic rolling in beside you. That is treasure on a budget. The next one gives you a free air show from the best pilots in the world. Number 3, Pensacola Beach, way out on the Panhandle. This is where the water finally turns that famous emerald green and the sand goes sugar white, and one of the best shows in Florida here is completely free. The Blue Angels, the Navy's flight team, are based right here, and all summer long you can watch them roar overhead in tight formation for nothing, whether you catch a practice run or the big air shows in July and November. In summer, a free trolley runs the length of the island, the beach boardwalk is free to stroll, and just down the road, the Gulf Islands National Seashore gives you miles of protected, empty white sand for the price of a park pass. All the beauty, none of the price tag. Lie back on that white sand as 6 jets scream past overhead in perfect formation, and remember, it did not cost you a dime. The next one lets you watch a rocket climb into space right from the beach. Number 2, Cocoa Beach on the Space Coast. This is the surfing capital of the East Coast, the town where 11-time world champion Kelly Slater learned to ride, and it comes with a free spectacle you cannot get anywhere else on Earth. Rockets now launch from right up the coast several times a month, and you can watch them climb into the sky for free from the 800-foot Cocoa Beach pier or the nearby jetty park. When there is no launch, wander the Ron John's Surf Shop, the largest in the world at 52,000 square feet and open 24 hours a day with a free surf museum tucked inside. Budget motels line the sand, and Orlando is only an hour up the road. Stand on the beach at dusk as a rocket lifts off the horizon on a pillar of fire, the whole sky lighting up, and you paid nothing at all to see it. Number 1, Navarre Beach. This is the payoff. Right next to famous, expensive Destin on the very same Emerald Coast sits a quiet stretch of 8 miles of powder white sand and water, so green and clear it looks tropical, and almost nobody talks about it. Navarre stays calmer and far cheaper than its glossy neighbors, tucked between shady oaks and the Santa Rosa Sound. Its pride is the pier, stretching more than 1,500 feet out over the Gulf, one of the longest anywhere on the coast. You can walk the whole thing, out over that glass-clear emerald water for a single $1, or fish it all day for $7, no license needed. This is the exact same sugar sand and jewel-toned water people pay a fortune for just down the road, minus the crowds and minus the bill. Walk out to the end of that endless pier, emerald water on every side, the whitest sand in Florida stretching empty behind you, and understand what this whole list has been about. So, here is what all 10 of these towns have in common. Not one of them asked you to choose between a beautiful beach and an affordable one. That is the quiet secret of the Florida coast. Everyone piles onto the same expensive, famous stretches of sand, while up and down the state, there are beaches just as gorgeous, and sometimes more so, where the pier costs $1, the parking is free, and the show in the sky comes at no charge at all. All the beauty, none of the price tag. So the next time someone tells you Florida is out of your budget, just point the car toward one of these, drive the extra exit, and go find the coast you were told you could not afford. If this is the kind of travel you would rather do than break the bank, give this video a like and subscribe, and I will keep finding these places for you.